I hate anxiety dreams. I mean, I try to maintain my calm and my serenity during the day, but then when I'm asleep, my subconscious brain takes over, and it apparently worries way too much. I have had this dream about you all many times. It's Christmas Eve. The church is packed. The service is supposed to start in 2 minutes. My vestments are lying all over the floor everywhere. I can't find any of the acolytes. I can't find where the choir is. And worst of all, I have not yet started to write my sermon. I had that too many times. I'm going to have nightmares, I think, about power outages in church, too, after today. There's another one I had. It takes me back to seminary. I'm almost done with all my years of training. I've wanted to be a priest for so long, and I've been evaluated by my seminary professors and by the vestry of my home parish and by the bishop and by all the committees that work for the bishop. Now comes the final exam. I'm handed a piece of paper with the final exam question. It's just 2 words. Explain God. My jaw drops. Explain God? And then I see the fine print. Use both sides of the paper if necessary. In this nightmare, I never give the right answer. And the right answer, of course, is you can't. Explain God? If it's really God, you can't do it. There's a little poem I like by a 17th century priest named Silesius, and it goes like this. God far exceeds the word that can ever be expressed. In silence, God is heard. In silence, worship best. You can't explain God. You can only experience God. And it interests me that all the great spiritual leaders and teachers went off into the wilderness to experience God. We all know, of course, how Jesus went off into the wilderness for 40 days at the beginning of his public ministry. The Buddha went off for a similar time. So did Muhammad. Well, Moses did the same thing. Moses encounters God and hears the voice of God on the holy mountain from that burning bush. Now, I love the way the Jewish tradition tells stories. And I really love the way the Jewish tradition tells stories about the stories. Once there was a rabbi named Joshua. And a pagan came to Rabbi Joshua to ask about this story we heard today, the story of the burning bush. And the pagan asked, why did God choose a thorn bush, of all places, as the place from which to speak to Moses? And Rabbi Joshua answered, God chose the humble thorn bush to teach us that there is no place on earth without the divine presence. Not even a humble thorn bush. You can't explain God. You can only experience God. And we can experience God anywhere. In fact, we should experience God everywhere. Moses met God in the wilderness so that Moses could see God everywhere. Jesus met God in the wilderness so that Jesus could meet God everywhere. And Moses and Jesus taught their followers the same thing. Everywhere is holy ground. This is the Holy Land. This is the holy moment. If we experience God here in church, it is so that we can experience God out there in the world. If we find God in this sacrament of bread and wine, it's so that we'll learn that all food is holy. All meals are holy. All ground is holy ground. Now, you know I've got a lot of happy memories of the children of St. Mark's. I've had such a good time over the past 16 years with our kids here. Well, there was an Easter time some years ago now, and the altar was gorgeously decorated with an Easter garden. And when it was time for the kids to come upstairs after Sunday school, one of the little boys broke away from his mom and ran all the way down here to the front of the church. And he looked up and saw the big, beautiful Easter banners, and he saw all the candles, and he saw all the flowers, and he even saw the little fountain of water we had. And immediately, he shouted, "Oh, wow!" Well, that was his way of saying hallelujah. He was on holy ground. And I hope we can all occasionally experience that feeling. A moment when we find ourselves overcome with, oh, wow. Even more, I hope that leads to a constant awareness of the wonder of creation, the wonder of our Creator, the wonder of our own lives. We're on holy ground all the time, and I would suggest taking a little vision quest every single day. You don't have to go off into the wilderness for 40 days. You don't have to climb Mount Sinai. All ground is holy. And if you keep your eyes open and your heart open, you're going to find reasons to say, oh, wow. One of the best ways I know is to pay attention to the natural world, which is, after all, the art and the work of God the Creator, God the Maker. I have a friend who told me once that for her, the woods are the cathedral, and I agree with her. There was a great preacher of the 19th century who said, of all man's works of art, a cathedral is the greatest. But one vast, majestic tree is greater still. Even when nature is kind of scary, the way it is this weekend, its power speaks to us of the grand, of the sublime, of the overwhelming. I mean, that's really why we watch the Weather Channel, after all. We still say, wow, even if we are afraid. A great poet of the 20th century was thinking about how scientists have discovered the incredible vastness of the universe with its billions of stars and billions of galaxies, and how our own Earth is just a tiny blue speck in all that infinity. And the poet said this, it is only a little planet, but how beautiful it is. The old Navajo prayer says, with beauty before me, may I walk. With beauty behind me, may I walk. With beauty above me, may I walk. With beauty all around me, may I walk. As God said to Moses, you are on holy ground. And as one of the St. Mark's kids said, oh,